All right, guys, it's packet time. I'm starting with page 10 today and going through to page 13. Um, Next week, on Monday, I'll be going over pages 14 through 18. On Tuesday, pages 19 through 22. On Wednesday, pages 23 through 27. On Thursday, pages 28 through 30, and that should finish up this packet. I know that I've heard that the district is going to give you another packet to do independently. Just keep in mind that I won't be going over that until after spring break. We're just going to get through this first one first. All right, let's get started. I'm on page 10, day 4. If you can have your packet in front of you and read with me as I am reading. It was Saturday morning, and Andrea was so excited that she got up earlier than usual. This was the day she was supposed to play in one of the biggest games of the season. She had her soccer jersey and cleats on and was ready to go. As she went into the kitchen for breakfast, she heard a thundering roar coming from outside. She ran to the window and saw that the sky was as black as coal. The sky was a never-ending bucket of water being dumped down on Andrea's home. Andrea was disappointed because she was really looking forward to playing soccer that day. All she could do was hope for it to clear up quickly. So number 1 says, which of the following sentences is an example of a metaphor? A, the sky was a never-ending bucket of water being dumped down on Andrea's home. B, she had her soccer jersey and cleats on ready to go. C, as she went into the kitchen for breakfast, she heard a thundering roar coming from outside. D, all she could do was hope for it to clear up quickly. The answer there is A. The sky was a never-ending bucket of water being dumped onto Andrea's home. So if you can kind of imagine a bucket that just keeps going and going on top of the house, but that's really not what's happening. It's really just raining constantly, and that's why it is a figurative language. Number 2, the coffee mug huffed a cloud of smoke. It seemed to heat the entire desk. Its smell filled every corner of the room. Everyone in the office gathered around the coffee maker for a fresh cup. The boss was not happy that work had stopped. Then she poured herself a cup of coffee too. Pretty soon, everybody had forgotten about work. All that was missing were some donuts. Which sentence from the passage makes something seem human? A, all that was missing were some donuts. B, its smell filled every corner of the room. C, the coffee mug huffed a cloud of smoke. Or D, then she poured herself a cup of coffee too. All right, the answer is C, the coffee mug huffed a cloud of smoke. So remember, we've had this question before earlier in the packet, and I was talking about how when you huff, you're kind of breathing heavy, and that's something that a coffee mug can't do. It can't huff a cloud of smoke. All right, number 3. An enormous poster of the circus stood large and greeted Malik and Georgia as they arrived. It listed all of the performers and the times that they were scheduled to perform. Georgia was excited to see that the lion tamer, Legolol, would be performing. Just as Malik and Georgia walked through the gate, they were surrounded by a group of clowns. They started giving Malik a hard time because he would not smile. All right, so now the question that goes with this is on page 11 at the top. What does the author mean by saying an enormous poster of the circus stood large and greeted Malik and Georgia? A, the poster was standing and talking to the people as they arrived. B, the poster was the first thing Malik and Georgia saw at the circus. C, the poster had to keep out people who did not have tickets to attend. Or D, the poster had a lot of missing and wrong information written on it. All right, so the answer here is B. The poster was the first thing Malik and Georgia saw at the circus. So usually if you're greeted by someone, that's like the first meeting that you would have. The poster, it was not standing and talking. It was greeting them by just being what they saw at when they first walked in. All right, the next one is a poem titled The Fly by Walter de la Mare. How large unto the tiny fly must little things appear? A rosebud like a feather bed, its prickle like a spear. A dewdrop like a looking glass, a hair like golden wire. The smallest grain of mustard seed, as fierce as coals of fire. A loaf of bread, a lofty hill, a wasp, a cruel leopard, and specks of salt as bright to see as lambskins to a shepherd. Which line from the poem is an example of a metaphor? A, as fierce as coals of fire. B, a dewdrop like a looking glass. C, a loaf of bread, a lofty hill. Or D, its prickle like a spear. And the answer is C, a loaf of bread, a lofty hill. Now, you may have not have chosen that one because we've talked about how metaphors use the form of be. Am, is, are, was, and were. However, if you take out the comma, you could say a loaf of bread is a lofty hill, meaning the hill would look like a loaf of bread. Maybe it's how it goes up and over like a loaf of bread does, like a rectangle. So that's what the comparison is. They're comparing a loaf of bread to a lofty hill. And lofty would mean up high. So you may have chosen something else because they are comparing, but those would be similes because they use the word like or as. Okay. Number 5, Heather put away her homework in the biggest slot in her bag. She placed the pens on a desk in order from the one with the most ink to the one with the least ink. Later, she ordered the shoes in her closet by the day in which she first bought them. When her room was cleaned, she took a shower and brushed her teeth for exactly 5 minutes. Then she laid out her clothes for school the next day. Finally, she said goodnight to her parents. What can the reader tell about Heather? A, she hates going to school. B, she loves to buy new shoes. C, she ignores her parents. Or D, she is very organized. And the answer there is D, she is very organized. This reminds me of some of you at school with organizing your school supplies. And that was a clue that would lead you to believe that she's an organized person. She takes her pens from least to most ink. I don't even know how she figures that out. Ordering her shoes in the closet. So those are your clues to tell you that she is very organized. All right, page 12. This one is titled Disappointment. Lola sat on the old lumpy couch crying. She could let it all out here, alone in her mother's small, quiet apartment in Galesburg, Illinois. The familiar walls were covered in rose-pink wallpaper. Goldie, her mother's 11th fish, seemed to stare sympathetically at Lola through the fishbowl sitting on the counter. The smell of her mother's vanilla candles comforted her aching heart. Lola allowed herself to think out loud. It is so unfair. I am the best person for the job. Instead, my classmates voted for Ricky to be class president. Ricky is such a clown, always making jokes. What can he offer the school? Now all my plans to improve the school seem worthless. Lola decided to stay home and sulk. Rather than attend the football game that night, she wasn't ready to face Ricky. She was sure he would have plenty of jokes to make at her expense. Number 6, how does the setting affect the characters or their actions? A, the classmates realize they made a mistake by voting for Ricky. B, Lola openly expresses how she feels about the class election. C, Lola's mom is sorry that she is not able to comfort her daughter. Or D, Ricky laughs and makes jokes about how he won the election. All right, so remember the setting is when or where the story takes place. And I think in this case, the setting is important because Lola is able to express her feelings openly without anyone knowing, saying that it's unfair. She feels safe in this place. All right, so that would be answer B. Lola openly expresses how she feels about the class election. All right, last one on this page, page 12, The Last Dance. The auditorium was dark and empty now. It looked so vast without the viewers in their seats. The stage was vacant of sets and props. There was silence. One dancer remained. Esperanza, still in her costume, took her mark and began her elegant twirling dance again. She had given the best performance of her life. The cheering and clapping still echoed in her mind. I never want to leave the stage, she thought. Ramon waited and waited by the backstage door. He wanted to congratulate Esperanza on her final dance before her graduation. She had enchanted the audience that night. No one could take their eyes off her, including him. She was so graceful. Ramon wondered, where could she be? It's getting late. He decided to knock on her dressing room door. There was no answer, Ramon thought. Where is she? Could she still be on the stage? Number 7, how does the setting contribute to the plot? Meaning, when it says contribute, is just how does it offer us information on what is going on in the story? Is it A, it suggests that Ramon is a bad friend because he cannot find Esperanza? B, it helps the reader better understand Esperanza's experience as a dancer. C, it shows that the audience will not leave because Esperanza dances so well. Or D, it makes the reader think that Esperanza will not dance on a different stage. So the answer there is B. It's helping us understand how she feels. All right, she doesn't want to leave. She wants to keep dancing. She was still hearing the cheering and clapping. That is what she is letting us know what she experienced. All right, page 13, day 5, the ant and the cocoon. Now this is a theme question. So it's always important before you start reading to be already trying to decide what the theme is by the end. So, and that will help you when you're trying to point that out. That kind of helps with your comprehension of the story. On a sunny day, an ant was searching for food and came across a cocoon that was about to change. At the end of the cocoon, the ant could see a tail moving. The movement attracted the ant, who then saw that there was something alive and said, I pity such a creature that has to live inside such a thing, while I can move freely about at my pleasure. If I want, I can climb a tree, while you lie inside a shell. You can only move a little bit of your tail. The creature in the cocoon heard every word but said nothing. A few days later, the ant happened by the same place. It noticed the cocoon and inspected it. There was nothing inside. I wonder what happened to the poor creature inside, the ant said. At that moment, the ant felt a cool breeze as shade covered him. He looked up and saw a beautiful butterfly. Who are you? Asked the ant. Don't you recognize me? Said the butterfly. I am the creature you pitied because I was locked inside the cocoon. You may boast of your ability to run freely, but I won't listen very long. With that, the butterfly flapped its wings and rose up until it caught a breath of wind and was soon out of the ant's sight. This story is adapted from The Ant and the Chrysalis by Aesop. If you remember Aesop's fables that you've probably read in school before. What is the theme of the ant and the cocoon? A, your home is where your heart is. B, butterflies are very beautiful. C, ants are not as smart as butterflies. Or D, appearances can be deceiving. And the answer is D, appearances can be deceiving. When it says deceiving, it means that it's not what you think it is. So the ant kind of saw the cocoon and thought this creature was helpless. Little did it know that it was something else getting ready to happen, or what the caterpillar or the chrysalis was about to become. All right, Peter Pan in Kensington Gardens by J.M. Barrie. If you ask your mother whether she knew about Peter Pan when she was a little girl, she will say that she did. If you ask her whether he rode on a goat in those days, she will say that he did. Then, if you ask your grandmother whether she knew about Peter Pan when she was a girl, she would also say that she did. But if you ask her whether Peter Pan rode a goat in those days, she will say she never heard of him having a goat. Perhaps she has forgotten. Still, she could hardly forget such an important thing as the goat. Most likely there was no goat in the story when your grandmother heard the story as a little girl. Stories are often changed as they are passed on from one person to another. What is the theme of this passage? Peter Pan is a story that most people enjoy. B, mothers have better memories than grandmothers. C, a story is different for each person who tells it. D, people may have forgotten that Peter Pan rode a goat. And the answer is C, a story is different for each person who tells it. It's kind of like the game of telephone, how you play and then things change as you go along. That's kind of what this story is trying to say. That the grandmother may have told it to her daughter, but left out the part about the goat, or included a part about a goat, or made it up. So it's saying that, and then the clue there is the last sentence saying stories are often changed as they are passed from one person to another. All right, until next week, we will go over the rest of this packet. And so continue working on it and doing your best. All right.